Hi. Hi, Jody.
Hi, this is Trisha Kaufman. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Trisha Kaufman. I am a hair salon owner. I've been a professional hairstylist for 30 years, and I've been a business owner in the city of Chicago for 15 years.
Okay, we won't talk too much about the PPP, but you were chosen for this because you did apply for the loan and never heard anything back. So let's talk about your business, Trisha. Tell us a little bit about Tsubo Salon and about your professional life pre-quarantine.
Tsubo Salon is unique in our salon industry because we don't host hairstylists that are making commission on their services. I host hairstylists that are all independent contractors. They pay rent to use the space. They're in charge of managing their clientele. They're in charge of choosing their health insurance. They're in charge of retirement. They can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as little or as much as they choose. It's really them in charge of their own destiny. And what I do for them in exchange is provide them a place that they can take care of their clients. I give them a nice salon that is attractive, and I keep current on the products that we carry available for clients. And together we have a family unit, but we're all kind of independent. Everybody gets to work for themselves. The downside of that is in times like this, that if I had been working for a commission-based salon and, even though I'm only making 30% commission, I probably would have a little bit of recourse in having some sort of financial support right now. Working for myself and having 15 hairdressers that share the space with me that are also working for themselves, we haven't had a drop of income since March 21st, I think is the day that we all just discussed was our last day of income. And not one of us has gotten any money from the government, not one, not of any kind whatsoever. That's going off of what your question was, but feeling really strongly about it, Jody.
Well, I totally understand. And that's the whole thing is that, pre-quarantine, you have this really beautiful model that allows people to have autonomy over their own business, and you provide this incredible space in which they can work. Now, real quickly, why don't you just describe the space that you guys created with hard work and toil and a lot of cash?
It's so fantastic. It's a loft. At the time when we found the space, there was really nothing else in the building besides storage space, and we chose this loft because of the rent. It was cheap rent, and we actually turned it down twice because it was just too big for the two of us, just me and my partner Jay. It was too big for us, so we were running out of time. We needed a space. This place just kept coming up in our path, and so we finally said, you know what, we're just going to do it, and we're going to invite other hairdressers in to share space with us because we can't afford to be here, just the two of us. So we spent, Jay and his partner and me and my husband Larry, we spent 2 weeks building that salon from scratch. Like, we had to knock down walls, we had to build walls, we had to install plumbing, and then Jay and I were also still seeing clients at the time. So we put all of our blood, sweat, and tears, and we financed it personally. We basically each put half of it on our credit cards. So I've never had a bank loan since. Those credit cards, thankfully, have been paid off. And since Jay has moved to another city and gifted me the salon all on my own. But it's great space because it's a big open space. And, it's evolved over the years from what our initial intention was. But thankfully, I'm very good at adapting and seeing what is coming up that the needs are. What is the salon trying to be? Not what am I trying to make it, So that's what it's turned into what it is now. And it's fantastic because it's a big open space. There's a lot of room for people to feel like they've got their own little unique pod without it feeling like everyone is in a separate booth. We're still a continued family, and we can inspire one another and learn from one another. And it really is a very, very special family of people because we all seem to be very like-minded, and you know, we're all have kind of similar family lives, and it's just a really unique group of people. And I genuinely have such huge love for them, which is why I think all of this is so hard, because I can't help them. I'm not their boss.
Right. Because you are the business owner, but you have this model, which is what really the only way you would have been able to open that space was using a model like this. And I will say, as a friend of yours, but also a client, I would schedule my busy butt, you know, with time to come out there because of what it felt like to be there. And the big open space, the art everywhere. I mean, you used to talk about the warehouse and it being storage. Now there's lots of art studios in that building. And there's just this feeling of creativity and authenticity in that place that's just, you do not see in other salons. It's amazing. It is amazing. Also a feeling of like health and wellness in there. Like the products are all organic and, you know, sourced well. And there's just a mindfulness and a thoughtfulness. And I get a great haircut. Don't laugh. I cut my own bangs last night. Trisha, I did it.
I was going to say, this is not the haircut I gave you is not what you have on your head right now. But
stop
in all
it.
fairness, it has been a few months.
Yes, it was. But to say that's kind of the vibe of Tsubo, right? And I mean, I'm driving out from Oak Park. I am not a fancy lady, but there's something that drew me, as long as I was able to make it work, to your studio, right? Or to your salon. All right. I even call it a studio. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, that's what it feels like. Because especially the way that the building has evolved into this big, creative, collaborative building, it feels very much like our little version of art studio. I mean, our building has a huge art walk every year that brings in like 12 to 15,000 people just walking through, looking at all the various art spaces in the building. It really is a really fantastic place to be. And I'm really proud that my landlord credits me for starting that trend of getting it into retail space instead of just warehouse space. He's the reason I'm still in business, honestly, my landlord. He's fantastic.
Yeah. And again, this idea of collaboration and of community, but within independent business, right? Like there's independent businesses, but looking sort of collaboratively at all ships rise with the rising tide, sort of feel to it. So let's talk about then, since the quarantine. Tell me just what your professional life looks like since March 21st, when you had to make that really difficult choice that was put upon you, really, to stop holding space for the other stylists and also providing services yourself.
You know, right out of the gate, I thought, this is a gift. This is a gift of time that I've been given. I have no choice but to stop moving and really focus on what I think is important for my well-being right now. You know, like when you go on an airplane is the only time, for me anyway, the only time I really get into a good book, because you have nothing else to do but just sit there for 10 hours. So I treated this as a great opportunity for me to learn how to play the piano, you know, do yoga every day, and maybe spend a little bit more time with my husband and my daughter. You know, I thought this is great. And it's funny how every day is different. You know, every day I wake up feeling different. And I think, okay, today's going to be a great day. And then I go downstairs and my husband is having the opposite day. And, you know, my daughter's having a rage day. Each of us are processing this on our own, in our own way, on our own time frame. And so we're never all gelled together in how we're managing it, you know. And over the course of now it's been 5 weeks I've been home, it's become harder and harder for me to picture how I'm ever going to return to what was normal to me before. And I don't know that that's a bad thing. I think that there's a lot that we can take with us from this time that I think will be really positive in the future of our society. I hope so anyway. I hope that people are having the opportunity to recognize what a positive time this is to really look and see what's truly important, you know? But I've had to separate myself as a business person from myself as the mom of this family, because I can't be responsible for them. As much as I want to be able to help them and protect them and give them a rent break for another month, I can't. That the only way my business is going to stay open is if I get some working capital. As of right now, I'm $15,000 in the hole, and I don't know how I'm going to ever make up $15,000. Deferring payments is fantastic help for right now, but it's not making the money go away. It's just going to kick the can down the road, So what's the solution? Well, everybody's selling gift cards. That's so helpful. I've had so many clients offer to pay for their services in advance, which is great to help me buy groceries. But the problem with that is that's just, again, kicking the can down the road, because when we open and all of a sudden I have 2 weeks worth of clients that are paying with gift cards, I still don't have any money because that money was already paid to me.
That's right.
So it's, my landlord is great for giving me the month off rent, potentially another month off rent, but it's not going away. I still am going to have to make up for that, those thousands of dollars in a renegotiated lease, which is a really scary thing to do when I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay in business now. I don't know if this is going to happen. So how do I make this work? To me, all the formulas says you're done. Your time is done. Time to find out what you're going to do next in your life, which is, how do you do that? How do you say, this is the thing I've wanted to do since I was 13 years old? Now, can I go cut hair someplace else? Yes, I can. But the reason that I chose this business model is so that I could be in charge of what I wanted to do with my life. I could be in charge of that work-life balance, so that if I don't have a client between 2 and 4 o'clock, I don't have to sit in the salon and wait for someone to potentially walk in when I'm not getting paid. I can go run errands. I can go take my daughter to her Girl Scout meeting. I can go for a workout. I can do things that help me keep balance in my life. And isn't that what we're all looking for, is that work-life balance? So,
and we live in a capitalist country where we're supposed to be rewarded for taking the initiative, for innovating, for finding ways to create jobs and business. And here you are having to depend on the kindness of the building owner to defer rent that he probably hasn't been given any money towards either.
Right. Yeah. It's when we had the recession in 2008, I went to my landlord at the time and I said, Gary, I can't. If this continues, I'm going to be out of business in 6 months. So I think it's important for you to know that, so that you can start keeping your eyes open for someone that might want to take our space, because I'm not going to be able to renew the lease. And he said, you know what? No. How about if we just make sure that you stay in business? You're a great tenant. You've been good for the building, and I really want to make it work for you. And I'm grateful that he is in that position, that he felt like that was a sacrifice that he could make financially so that I could stay in business. And we worked it out. And, it was rough. We still had income during the recession. That's the biggest difference, is we still had income. It was a lot less. People were still getting their hair cut. They just were getting their hair cut every 12 weeks instead of every 8 or 10 weeks. And so over the big picture over the year, it just, it was tough. It was tough for my renters to be able to make their rent. So, during times like that, I don't go to a bank, because I'm very, very fortunate that my husband is a big fan of me and my beliefs. And anytime that it's gotten to a point that I just need a little bit of money, I'm not talking a lot of money. I just need $1,500 right now so that I can place another order, and he does it. He's the Bank of Larry. I can't get a bank anywhere, including my bank that I've done business with for 15 years, my business banking. I can't get anyone to give me any money. And it's not because I have poor credit. I don't have fantastic credit, not 800, but I don't have unreasonable credit. I'm a consistent payer. I don't pay my bills late. I don't skip my bills. I don't ignore my obligations. I'm, all intents and purposes, a good business person. I don't make a lot of money, but I don't think that that's what this society, I don't think that's what this culture is supposed to be. I don't think the goal in life for all of us is to make as much money as we can. I don't think that's a priority for me.
No. So the accumulation of wealth, I think, it stymies innovation. It squashes innovation. If you're just accumulating, Whereas I think the true spirit of like, an enlightened capitalist, at least, is somebody who is trying to accumulate in order to reinvest in more ideas. We're like idea junkies, right? Like, I want to do that, and the more that at least for me in my business, every extra bit I get that goes above like just paying my bills and making sure my kid can go to gymnastics, and I know the privilege in that and all of that. But my little budget, once I get there, the rest of it, I'm thinking of how can I just build more? I want to build more. And, I think this idea, right, that the only goal of capitalism is to accumulate wealth is just archaic and ridiculous and not accurate.
Right. Especially when I think that there's so much value in the wealth of the human experience. There's so much wealth in having that satiety in life that you just feel contentment. And that's something that I never felt before until very recently. My salon, I'm very fortunate, got to the point that I had more hairdressers than I had space for them to work. I was so crowded that I couldn't take any more, and I had to turn people away. And I'm grateful that people want to be there.
Yeah. And can we just for a second back up and talk about, Moneybags Larry? What does Larry do for a living?
The Bank of Larry.
The Bank of Larry. What does he do for a living, Trisha?
Larry is a firefighter. He also, being that he doesn't just enjoy having 48 hours off like most firemen, he has a second job as the fire safety commissioner for another town. So he's a first responder. That is a whole nother set of anxiety in my house, I can assure you of that.
Yes. But it's not like he's some trust fund baby that's money. He's got money because he works his butt off as a first responder.
Because he works two jobs. And, granted, he's an officer, so he's in the higher of the pay scale of the people that work there. But if you look up any first responders, any firemen, any captain, they don't make that much money. The only reason that he's able to do that for me is because he's very good at managing our personal budget, and we chose a very inexpensive lifestyle. We chose a cheap house in a suburb, that has low taxes, so that we can afford to live the life that we want to live. We love to travel. We both love sports. We both like to have a lot of equipment, we like to be able to buy a new bass guitar because you want to learn how to pick up a new instrument while we're on quarantine, and I'm grateful that he knows how to manage our budget, and the lifestyle that we've chosen has allowed us to be able to do that. Right. Now, does he have a surplus of money that he can just write me a check for $15,000? No. As a matter of fact, when we remodeled the salon a couple of years ago, he took a loan in his name, his personal name, not my business. And the salon has been paying him back $800 a month. Well, unfortunately, times got a little bit tight at Tsubo when I had a little exodus recently, and I couldn't pay him. And, he said, we're going to make it work. Don't worry about it. Every time I say I can't, the numbers don't work, we're not going to be able to come out of this. He said, you know what, this is important to you. I will help you make it work if that's what you want to do. But that's not fair to him. It's not fair to our family, that our family is constantly having to juggle numbers around to make it work for my business, so that 15 people have a place to go to work when we open again. That's what it's about.
We're not even, and we don't have, it's not in the scope of this interview to talk about, but you've got 15 people who I'm sure also were looking to the government to say, I'm an independent contractor. There's no unemployment for me. There's no medical insurance for me. There's no nothing for me if I don't have the money, and no possibility, in order to be, mindful of this quarantine, there's no possibility of income because you're not considered an essential worker. And that's another whole nother conversation too, of who's essential, and who's not. I mean, as you know, I'm a speech pathologist. I work with kids with very severe disabilities. I'm not considered essential right now. I've got kids falling to pieces in their homes that I can't serve because, of the quarantine. So again, it's a question of not just you, but the water, and you as a business owner, the waterfall, the trickling down of issues. you know, because you weren't able to secure what's rightfully yours as a taxpayer, right? I mean, you pay your taxes.
Yeah, I do. I've been paying my taxes for 15 years. And in Illinois, as you know, there's a lot of them. There's a very expensive state to have a business, which is extra frustrating because my business is in the city of Chicago, yet I don't get to vote in the city of Chicago. But that's another thing.
And you pay a flat tax. You pay a flat tax. We all pay this flat tax. So even if you had 8,000 employees and it's the same tax rate. That's, I mean, again, you know, that's for the state of Illinois, but still and all. All right, so back to my last question for you then. Last question is, if you had to just describe your mental state right now in 3 words, what would they be?
I don't know that there's 3 words that could describe it because there's so many emotions. You know, my mental state is, right now, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I have a daily yoga practice that gives me the opportunity to really put in perspective what is important. I'm grateful that I have my health. As someone with an autoimmune disease, this has been very scary for me, knowing that, you know, my husband goes out into the public every time he goes to the fire station, and I don't know how to protect our household from what he may or may not be exposed to, you know. My mental state is denial. You know, I do spend a lot of time in denial because I know the writing is on the wall that I'm going out of business, you know, and I'm going to have to tell all of these people that have been counting on me that I can't provide for them anymore. And it's hard for me to face that, being such a protector. So I'm spending a lot of time in denial, you know. I'm revisiting a lot of coping mechanisms, that some of them not so healthy, you know, just trying to get through. I'm pissed, you know, anger, enraged. That's a lot more than 3 words, Jody.
Well, those words are beautiful, and it's true. I mean, I think I'm feeling the same way. This idea that it was going to be fair. I just figured, because, you know, that it was going to be, that this money was going to come to the smallest of businesses to make sure that the bottom was, you know, stable, and that the people that had all of the resources, like, just at their disposal, were going to do the right thing and not even apply for this thing. I mean,
so, Jody, this is the way that I understand it, makes me the most furious. And this is coming from someone that I'm very close to that works in a bank. You know, to go back a step, there's like 4 or 5 different things that I've applied for. And it's hard to really know, as someone that doesn't deal with this stuff every day, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. There's so much mixed information, and there's so much incorrect information. And it's hard to really know where you're supposed to go with it. So I apply for the first thing that I think is the right thing to do, the disaster loan. April 1st was the day that I applied for that. And, you know, now it's the 20th or something like that. I still haven't heard even that they received my application. I don't even know if that's eligible. So then someone said, no, you need to go here and apply for this. So I went over here and I applied for the PAU or something like that. And that, I'm not eligible for that because I'm self-employed. And then I keep getting directed to all of these different places. And, you know, by the time I get to the place that actually might be able to give me a little bit of assistance, they're out of money, you know. I applied for the first day that someone said, okay, now is our day. Go apply for the self-employed gig worker opportunity. And then I wake up the next day and find out that no, it turns out we're out of money because these large corporations and cultural institutions got money before us. And what really makes me mad about that is the way that I understand it works is the banks got the money. And then the banks decided who they're going to give these 1% loans to, knowing that they're only making 1% on giving these loans. So they're going to choose their largest customers because that's the most amount of money that they're going to get. Now, I am not that large of a customer. You know, my bank account at my business bank is rarely over $6,000. That's not making a lot of money off of them, but it's enough for me to keep my business open. So it seems so unjust to me that that the banks get to choose who's going to get their money based on who they're going to make the most money off of. Now, I get it. I understand in business there's reasons for things, but it's so unjust to me that the small businesses that really, really need tiny amounts of money in a lot of cases, including mine, get swept under the rug. Like, sorry, you're not going to give anything back to us, so we're not going to make it our priority to give anything back to you.
Right, and this whole kind of economy of constantly accumulation and building, that's the problem. The culture of having to constantly grow. I think this year would be an okay year for banks to stay still. Just stay still. Like, this is not an opportunity to make money. There'll be plenty of those, and I understand that's your business model. But for 1 year, could you think like a member of a group for 1 year and just say, you know, we'll take a pause because we all have plenty to eat and to, you know, take care of our families. We'll take a pause and make sure. I don't understand. I don't even begin to understand how they're not seeing that, how they don't see it. And right, the injustice of it, but also just the stupidity of it. Because I promise you, big banks, if we little people go down, it's all going down. Like, this is big. If a business like yours and mine, and, you know, we're talking every little restaurant in every town, we're talking, you know, you love going out, you big ass bankers, and getting your sushi, that place is going to be gone.
Yeah.
The idea that folks are not smart enough to just recognize their own self-interest in keeping us afloat is just astounding to me.
Well, especially when I think it's really important to look at the long game. You know, I mean, I don't know where this number came from, but one of my hairdressers told me that our independent contractors, self-employed gig workers, represent 25% of the economy. So essentially, you're saying to 25% of the people, we don't care about you. We don't need you because we have these other giant corporations that we're continuing to make money on. So the rest of you guys can just continue to figure it out as you're going along. And that doesn't make sense to me. Can't we just all support one another from the bottom and then trickle up, you know? Like, why does everything have to be trickle down? Why can't it be trickle up? If I'm doing well, I'm spending money and I'm putting money back into our economy, and I'm buying local. So I'm supporting my local grocery store. But you know what? I'm also ordering things on Amazon. Sure, I'm also buying things that I'm still going to Potbelly, even though I'm really mad that they got so much money. But if we can't support that bottom 25%, what's going to happen when our economy continues to go further and further and further and further apart, and all of these people are asking for services that all of these people are not going to provide?
Well,
it just makes sense.
I think too, I mean, certainly in my field, like the idea of an employed therapist, a rehab therapist, like, I've never really been employed. I've always had to be an independent contractor because that's the work that you have if you work outside of school. People don't employ you. Now, I have an employee because I felt all these years like that was unfair. And so I took an employee on, and I have somebody who worked us, and so that I can pay him for his vacations and get him bought into insurance and all of that. But like the gig economy, big businesses have been moving us towards that anyway. So, all right, well, we better wrap it up so that people will actually watch this, because I know you and I could go on and on for days, sister. I really, really appreciate you talking to me and being the first in my series here of folks that I just wanted to be able to, people look at this beautiful, wise, smart, innovative, creative face here and see this is somebody, you know, directly affected by the banks and the government not doing the right thing with this small business loan money.
Well, thank you for thinking of me, Jody. I hope that somehow, whatever format this ends up, and I hope that someone that can help us will maybe do something. I don't know. I can't get anyone to listen to me. So maybe we need more of us to be loud and get a little help. It's just not, it's not okay.
Oh, and if this doesn't do anything, I'm going down swinging.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll go get my torch.
Do it. Let's do it. All right. Love you, girl.
Love you too, Jody. Thank you.
All right. Bye.